Hi everyone! Good afternoon ma'am, good afternoon classmates. How do you guys doing? Lahat ba tayo okay? And did you guys eat your lunch? And if you did, please lend us your ears as we discuss to you the continuation of the previous discussion. Now, we'll be tackling about the multigrade grouping strategies. But before that, let me introduce to you my groupmates and your teachers for today's video. Of course, to begin with, yours truly, Christine A. Ordonez, and of course, Frances, the smiling girl, will also be joining us. The ever-charming Henry, of course, Madam Michelle, and last but not the least, Emmanuel Ramoran. So without further ado, let's get started, or let's start our discussion. So let me read to you the text. In a classroom with good multigrade practice, there will be lots of small groups happening. Alam naman natin yan that there are groups happening in a multigrade class kasi nga, iba-iba yung knowledge, yung interest ng students natin. It is one of the most useful strategies a multigrade teacher can employ. Hindi naman sila pwedeng mag-blend as one kasi nga, iba-iba sila ng levels of thinking. A multigrade teacher cannot teach the whole class in one group all day and meet the needs of individual students with their different levels of experiences, maturity, and abilities. As I was saying, it cannot be. Okay? So, hindi sila pwedeng mag-meet as one. Now, let's move on to the benefits for students working in grouping strategies. Ano nga ba yung advantages nila if they work as a group? Okay, the first one, small groups strategy enables the learner to, number one, talk to each other and clarify their thinking and learning. So if they are grouped as one, they can clarify their thinking and learning. So it happens, let's say for example, you are hesitate with your answers. And then pwede mong itanong sa mga kasama mo, with your kasama, kung are you doing it right? Or are you making sense? Ganyan. Pwede mo sa kanilang i-check. The second one is think of more ideas than they would individually or in a whole class group. There is a saying na two heads are better than one. So and no man is an island. So think of more ideas. Ayun yung benefits wherein nakakapag-brainstorms kayo and nakakabuo kayo ng plenty of ideas that you can use. Diba? So, it's very beneficial. The third one is learn from each other and teach each other, explain, question, and remind each other in their own language in a way in which they are most comfortable. So, ang daming other and each nun ha. So, ayun, it is very beneficial kasi from there pa lang, andun pa lang kayo sa grouping nyo, natututo na kayo. Kasi you can check naman, di ba? Sabi doon, you can teach each other. Pwede mong tanungin kung saan ka naglalak. Pwede mo rin tanungin kung tama na ba yung ginagawa mo. And kung hindi, pwede ka nilang turuan kasi you have the same level of knowledge and the same interest. Pares kayo ng gusto. Ganon. So, natututo na kayo, learning by doing. And the last but not the least is share experiences with each other. So, ito na yung papunta na tayo sa exciting part. Kasi, with that grouping, nakakabuo kayo ng camaraderie, friendship. So, you can share your experiences with them. So, pwede na kayo mag-share kasi comfortable na kayo sa isa't isa. Diba?
So how students can be grouped? The students can be grouped in a variety of different ways for different purposes. This will maximize the participation by all of the group members. Students may work in the following groupings. So first are the mixed ability groups with other students of different ability levels. They could be called by animal names to identify them clearly. To put it another way, students of different abilities are taught in the same classroom as others. As a result, The mixed ability group contains members of the various skill levels. To make it easier for us to recognize a group, we can use the animal names to identify them. Second are the similar ability groups, with other students of the same ability levels who are at the similar stage of development in English, Filipino, or math. Instruction can be more efficient and effective to pupils with similar ability levels. They could have color names to identify themselves. There are no difference in the grade level, age, or growth stage between the students here. In terms of their abilities, they are all the same. When students of similar ability levels are given the same lesson at the same time, they are more likely to retain them. Colors can be used to identify their grouping. Last are the temporary groups, with others have temporary specific common learning need, and the teachers has formed this group for a specific purpose for one lesson. For example, a small group of students may need more instruction about writing a sentence, but the remainder of the class have already mastered this skill. There are some in the temporary groups who cannot follow the teacher's directions very well, despite the fact that the others understand the teacher's instructions simply. So those are the three types of group of students.
Now let's proceed to the direct and indirect strategies. So what are these two? Okay, so first, what is direct strategy or instruction? Okay, meaning when we say direct instruction, teacher usually gives information in a very explicit manner. So in general usage, the term direct instruction refers to, first is the instructional approaches that are structured, sequenced, and led by teachers. The second one is the presentation of academic content to students by teacher, such as in a lecture or demonstration. In other words, teachers are directing the instructional process, or instruction is being directed at students. While a classroom lecture is perhaps the image most commonly associated with direct instruction. So the term encompasses a wide variety of fundamental teaching techniques and potential instructional scenarios. Okay, for example, presenting a video or film to students could be considered a form of direct instruction. So even though the teacher is not actively instructing the students, the content and presentation of material was determined by the teacher. Okay, generally speaking, direct instruction may be the most common teaching approach in the United States. Since teacher-designed and teacher-led instructional methods are widely used in American public schools. So, that said, it's important to note that teaching techniques such as direct instruction, differentiation, or scaffolding, to name just a few, are really mutually exclusive. Direct instruction may be integrated with any number or other instructional approaches in a given course or lesson. So, for example, teachers may use direct instruction to prepare students for an activity in which the students work collaboratively on a group project with guidance and coaching from the teacher, or as needed.
Pros and cons of direct instruction. So before I discuss to you the pros and cons, I will give some information about direct instruction. So the structure of direct teaching can be rigid enough to hinder the creativity of the teacher. There is a very little room to improvise because this method follows a step-by-step procedure. The procedure usually starts with an introduction, followed by the rationale for the instruction, then by the instruction itself. So, for direct teaching or instruction to be effective, the teacher must have a mastery of the subject matter, must prepare well-organized content, and must have excellent communication skills. So, with sa tatlong sinabi kong traits, the mastery of the subject, prepare well-organized content, and excellent communication skills, ay magiging effective ang direct instruction. Ito ang positive side ng direct instruction kapag meron yung tatlong traits na nabanggit. So, ang magiging negative effect nito, without these traits, a teacher could not effectively carry out direct teaching or direct instruction, nor could they develop higher order thinking skills in the students. Kapag wala yung tatlong traits na yun, hindi magiging effective yung direct instruction. So, ito yung cons niya, magiging negative side ng direct instruction. So, let's proceed to indirect instruction. So, indirect instruction is a student-centered approach to learning where students observe, investigate, and draw inferences from data. In this instructional model, professors take on the role of a facilitator or supporter as opposed to offering direct instruction. So, number one is the group discussion. So, it is a type of discussion that involves people sharing ideas or activities. So, sa loob ng isang klase, magkakaroon tayo ng by group, for example. So, group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. So, yung limang grupo na yon, kung sino yung mga membro sa grupo na yon, ay magkakaroon ng group discussion. So, hahayaan tayo ng guro natin na mag-collaborate para mabuo natin yung pinapagawa na activity. So, doon pumapasok yung indirect instruction dahil sinusuportahan or ginaguide lang tayo ng ating guro para sa activity na yon. So, number 2 is self-evaluation. Para lang din tong group discussion, pero ito naman ay individual. So, magkakaroon ng activity na individual at hahayaan rin tayo ng guro natin para gawin tong activity na ito. Doon lamang pumapasok yung indirect instruction dahil ang mga guro natin ay nagsisilbing guide para magawa natin yung isang activity ng mabuti at maayos.
Now, let's proceed to the benefits of indirect instruction. The learning environment is arranged in such a way that it benefits the students greatly. Since indirect instruction is flexible, that frees students to explore diverse possibilities, that also fosters creativity and the development of interpersonal skills and abilities. The first benefit mentions wants to convey that the teacher arranges the learning environment, provides opportunity for students' involvement, since the teacher is the facilitator who helps learners construct the knowledge. To exemplify, a teacher gives students a Venn diagram, puts them in a group, and asks them to hypothesize which attributes animals and humans have in common, and which they do not have in common. Students are then asked as a group to offer their ideas and rationale, while the teacher serves as the facilitator, probing and suggesting alternatives. Therefore, in indirect instruction, the learning environment planned in a manner that students will benefit from it. Next, this strategy can be used by the teacher in almost every lesson. Indirect instructions are used by the teacher in almost every lesson because it is student-centered. So basically, the teacher creates an instructional sequence whereby students work more independently, in pairs, or in groups to construct knowledge rather than hear about it. And also, in order to achieve optimum benefits during indirect instruction, it is necessary for the teachers to pre-teach the skills and processes necessary to achieve the intended learning outcomes. Moreover, students tend to be more involved in indirect instruction. Teachers tend to enjoy them more, which provides an alternate way of teaching content. Now let's talk about the disadvantage of indirect instructions. So the first one is it consumes more time. To make it short and easy to understand, I will give examples. Direct instruction, the teacher gives a lecture to his or her students, while in indirect instructions, students have given hands-on activities. Another one is direct instruction teacher-led discussions, while in indirect instructions is a group learning involves discussions, projects given by the students, etc. So in this case, we can see that indirect instructions consumes more time. The second one is the lesson outcomes cannot be predicted. The reason to this is that instead of teacher giving them the information, students now will find out what's the answer to the given questions or informations they are looking for. So at last, teacher relinquish some control and outcomes can be unpredictable. And lastly is the environment is less safe. Because students' learning may be failed to define tasks, provide adequate structure, and monitoring holds students accountable. So, indirect instruction is not the best way of providing information or encouraging step-by-step skill acquisitions. So, like other strategies, indirect instruction has its own disadvantages. That's all. Thank you for listening.
That is it for our discussion, guys. I hope you learned something from the group, and don't worry for the quiz. It's kind of easy if you listen. So that is it. Bye.